Good evening, Fright fans. Quick Scare is back with a fresh serving of nightmares. Tonight, we unearth tales that will send shivers down your spine. Are you ready for the chill? This one takes us deep into the realm of Egyptian mythology, where the god's wrath is as unpredictable as the shifting sands of the desert. It all began when I stumbled upon an ancient papyrus hidden within the dusty shelves of an antiquarian shop. The shopkeeper, a wizened old man with sunken eyes, warned me of its dark origins. He spoke of Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of war and pestilence, whose rage could bring forth plagues and devastation. Intrigued and undeterred by superstition, I purchased the papyrus and took it home. Little did I know, this seemingly innocuous scroll held the key to a nightmare that would haunt me for the rest of my days. That night, as the moon hung low in the sky, I unfurled the papyrus and began to decipher its hieroglyphic secrets. The ancient symbols seemed to dance on the page, telling a story of a long-forgotten ritual that could awaken Sekhmet from her eternal slumber. As I neared the end of the text, the room grew colder, and an eerie silence settled in. The air was thick with tension, and a sense of foreboding hung like a shroud. Unbeknownst to me, the ritual had already begun. Suddenly, the room was bathed in an otherworldly light, and the temperature plummeted. I could feel eyes upon me, a gaze both ancient and malevolent. Sekhmet herself materialized before me, her feline features twisted into a snarl. With a voice that echoed like distant thunder, she spoke of the pact that bound her to the mortal realm. The ritual, it seemed, had unwittingly forged a connection between us. She demanded my servitude, a vessel through which she could unleash her wrath upon the modern world. Terrified and desperate, I pleaded for mercy, but the goddess was unyielding. The pact was sealed, and I became an unwilling conduit for Sekhmet's fury. In moments of rage, her essence would surge through me, unleashing plagues and calamities upon those who crossed her path. Haunted by guilt and the weight of countless lives, I sought a way to break free from this unholy alliance. The papyrus that had initiated the nightmare now held the key to its end. It spoke of a forgotten chant, a melody that could lull Sekhmet back into her eternal slumber. Driven by desperation, I embarked on a quest to uncover the origins of this ancient melody. The journey led me to the heart of the Egyptian desert, where the wind whispered secrets of a hidden temple, untouched by time. The temple, a forgotten relic of a bygone era, housed an altar adorned with an ornate lyre. As I played the haunting melody, the air shimmered with a golden light. Sekhmet, caught in the ethereal web of the music, began to retreat. Her roars turned into plaintive cries, and her form dissolved into the desert wind. As silence descended upon the temple, I knew the pact was broken. The goddess, her wrath appeased by the melody of forgotten times, retreated to the shadows. The weight on my shoulders lifted, and I was left alone in the silent expanse of the ancient temple. But here's the twist that sent shivers down my spine. As I left the temple, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in a polished stone. My eyes, once filled with the light of the living, now held a glint of something older, something not entirely human. The melody had worked, but its echoes lingered within me. The ancient goddess had left her mark, and I was forever changed. So, my friends, let this be a lesson. In the pursuit of ancient knowledge, be wary of the price you might pay. The gods may be slumbering, but their power is eternal, and their wrath, once unleashed, can change the course of your existence. This isn't your typical bedtime story. No, this is a journey into the heart of ancient Egyptian myths, where the line between reality and nightmare becomes as thin as papyrus. It all started when I stumbled upon an ancient relic at a dusty antique shop in Cairo. The owner, an old man with a hunched back and sunken eyes, claimed it was a cursed artifact with ties to the darkest corners of Egyptian mythology. Of course, I laughed it off. I mean, who believes in curses, right? Little did I know that artifact would become the key to unlocking a horror that had slept for centuries. The artifact was a small, unassuming amulet shaped like the head of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the afterlife. Its eyes seemed to follow you, and its presence carried an otherworldly weight. The old man warned me to keep it hidden, away from prying eyes, but I was intrigued. Ignoring his advice, I displayed it proudly on my shelf. As days passed, strange occurrences plagued my life. Whispers echoed through the empty rooms of my apartment, and shadows danced on the walls with a life of their own. I chalked it up to stress at first, but it soon became clear that something far more sinister was at play. One night, as I lay in bed, the room plunged into darkness. The air turned icy, and an unsettling stillness settled over everything. The amulet on the shelf began to emit an eerie glow, casting haunting shadows across the room. I felt a presence, an ancient force awakening from its slumber. Suddenly, the shadows took form, coalescing into a ghastly figure. It was Anubis himself, his eyes burning with an otherworldly light. He spoke, not in words, but in a language that echoed in the depths of my mind. He told me of a forgotten pact, a promise made by my ancestors in exchange for prosperity. The amulet, he revealed, was the vessel through which this pact was sealed. I was paralyzed with fear as Anubis recounted the consequences of breaking this age-old agreement. Shadows gathered around me, whispering tales of doom and despair. The air grew heavier, and I felt the weight of centuries pressing down on my soul. Desperation set in, and I pleaded with Anubis for mercy. I vowed to do whatever it took to rectify the sins of my forefathers. The god, however, was unyielding. The only way to break the curse was to journey into the underworld and retrieve a relic stolen by my ancestors, an artifact that held the key to appeasing the vengeful spirits. Guided by the spectral whispers, I found myself in a hidden chamber beneath the Great Pyramid, facing the entrance to the underworld. The journey that followed was a descent into madness. Each step echoed with the wails of tormented souls, and the air was thick with the stench of decay. Finally, I reached the chamber holding the stolen relic. It was a mirror, an ancient artifact capable of capturing the essence of the living. As I grasped it, the spirits howled in agony, and the very fabric of reality seemed to warp around me. Returning to the mortal realm, I presented the stolen relic to Anubis. The air grew still, and the shadows retreated. The god's eyes softened, and he nodded in approval. The curse was lifted, and the ancient pact was fulfilled. But here comes the twist, the part that still sends shivers down my spine as I recount this tale. As Anubis faded away, he whispered one last thing, a warning that would haunt my dreams. The curse was broken, but a new one had taken its place. The amulet, now devoid of its power, was an empty vessel, hungry for a new pact. And so, dear listeners, as I stand here under the flickering lamplight, I share this cautionary tale. Beware the relics of the ancients, for their power may be a double-edged sword. The shadows that linger in the corners of your perception may be more than mere tricks of the light. As for me, I keep the amulet hidden, far away from prying eyes. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I hear whispers, and I wonder if the shadows are truly gone, or if they merely bide their time, waiting for the chance to reclaim what was once theirs. So, my friends, take heed, for the myths of old may be more real than you could ever imagine, and the curses that bind us may not be so easily broken. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the heart of ancient terror. Until next time, stay curious, but tread carefully. You never know what shadows might be lurking just beyond the light. And that brings us to the end of another quick scare journey. If you're still breathing after those spine-tingling tales, show your support by liking, commenting on your favorite story, and subscribing for more horror-filled nights. Stay haunted.